Welcome to another exciting episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. I am your host today, Ben Tuine. I'm one of the co-hosts of this podcast that is really dedicated to helping practices that are tangled up with insurance. We talk about topics that help you take more control and create a bigger and better, also a brighter future for you, your patients, and your team members. Here with my good colleagues, Naren and Jordan. Welcome to the podcast, gentlemen. Thanks for your time today.
Dog? Yo, bro.
Hey, Ben. Hi, Jordan.
How you guys
Good
doing?
morning. Pretty good.
Sweet.
Good to see you again. Very good. Well, Jordan, you and I today are going to be interviewing Naren.
Yeah.
Of course, Naren is the ultimate genius when it comes to all things marketing. And what we're going to be talking about today are the three biggest marketing mistakes that practices make. So, as we dive into this, Naren, people have heard you on this podcast and many other podcasts in the past. Let's just get straight into the questions here. In your opinion, Naren, what are the three biggest mistakes, like the three biggest marketing mistakes that dental practices make?
Absolutely. I think the number one mistake goes back to this podcast, Insurance Untangled. They give up too much money to PPO plans in the form of write-offs. And all of us have seen, those numbers being hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year. Like, for example, a $1 million collections practice that is 70 to 80% PPO based can easily give up $500,000 to $600,000. The problem is it's invisible, so they don't notice it. So that's
an interesting way to put it. It's invisible, so that you're not really feeling it. It's not like you're collecting it and then giving it like paying the insurance companies. It's an invisible fee.
Yeah, money you never see.
Exactly.
Money you could see.
The second mistake they make is, SEO is very powerful for those who master it and who dominate it. And 95% of the practices don't do a good job at SEO. So that's the second mistake, and we'll get into that. And the last one is, like the ones who are desperate, like let's say they are trying to drop PPO plans and they don't know how to get new patients. So they do Google Ads. Google Ads are great, but it can also be a money pit. I mean, it can be like a slippery slope or where you could really, fall down and break your back, so to speak, by wasting a lot of money. So those are the three biggest mistakes I see. Of course, we all make tons of more mistakes, but those are like the top three.
Oh, yeah. Not doing marketing probably is one mistake.
Yes.
There's a lot of practices out there that just don't do it, right? They don't figure it out. So at least what I see.
Wasn't that that was sort of the traditional perception, like I think before the 90s, certainly, where marketing as a dental practice was taboo, right?
It totally was.
It was really frowned upon, which is kind of interesting when you look at today's climate of where patients come from. If you don't market, it's like, well, how can you survive?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that goes for any business, right? Like, I don't know how they did it. Maybe in the 90s and before, Ben, you didn't need to as much because people relied on, like, maybe you just need a phone book listing and a sign outside your door. Now it's more complicated, right? Marketing.
I remember the concept of location, right? In those days, it was all about location. Because
that probably was part of their marketing strategy back then, which it still should be today. But back then it probably didn't need as much. Today the population's bigger, the amount of competition is bigger, and I'm talking about indirect competition, right? Most patients, I would imagine, would rather buy a TV than get a new crown. So you got indirect 100%. You got more indirect, or an iPhone, right? I would rather buy an iPhone than go fix my teeth. A lot of people may be in that boat.
I'll go on that vacation, right?
Like, go on vacation, whatever it may be, right? There's a lot of indirect competition that you need to stand out from, not direct competition. I mean, there's obviously both. But
yeah, and I also noticed that the way we are has changed. Remember, like 90s, we didn't have a smartphone that we are glued to all day long.
It was actually awesome. I sometimes miss those days. Don't you guys? Like, I miss those days sometimes.
You miss holding the telephone with a tether on it, like the coil tether. That goes 40 feet.
Yeah.
You can walk all the way around the house, but you're still connected to the wall.
Yeah. Sometimes I miss those days.
Yeah, I still remember the answering machines, right? Like, you remember the answering machines?
Yeah.
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 So
Those bring back some interesting memories of the 80s and 90s.
And trust me,
Right?
things are going to get crazier. So I have a Tesla, and it has self-driving, and the damn thing can drive, man.
Yeah.
So I don't even need to pay attention anymore. I mean, I do pay attention because it's illegal not to, but it's almost like our brains can no longer is no longer needed. It's kind of crazy. You know, like you don't need your brain anymore to do anything. It's just
It is kind of interesting. Yeah. So
Yeah. That's cool. That's
okay.
cool.
So repeat the three just to do a quick recap. So spending joining too many PPOs and thinking that's going to be your marketing budget, not understanding how to do SEO, and then spending too much money on Google ads. Correct? Those are the three. And then
100%.
we added one, just not doing marketing at all.
Yes.
So that's the bonus
Bonus
mistake, the bonus mistake.
Exactly.
So explain to the audience, because I've played around with Google ads and SEO, like I know that space. How can one of our listeners know if they should do Google ads or shouldn't?
Right. Before we jump into that, can we kind of go a little bit deeper about each one of these mistakes?
Sure.
Ben?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So maybe I'll start by talking about, the wasting like literally hundreds of thousands of dollars on PPO plans.
Okay.
And I'll start it, and maybe you both can add to it. So the first thing I notice is it's the easy. We all take the path of least resistance. And by the way, I strongly recommend this book. If any of you haven't read it, you should read it. It's called Tiny Habits. And it's written by the guy who's a prof at Stanford. And he was the advisor to, I think, the guys who started Instagram. So this guy is what's called a behavioral scientist. So he knows how to hack your brain without you even knowing it. So you do certain things. And today, Instagram makes, I think, $55 billion for Facebook every year. It's a huge success. Anyway, so he dedicated his life to this idea of like, how do you use behavioral science to hack your own bad habits and create new good habits?
Who wrote the book?
I think his name is BJ Fogg.
BJ
Fogg.
Yeah. I'm just grabbing the summary
PhD.
right now.
Yeah. Amazingly smart guy. And because he's a psychologist, he doesn't make up stuff that he feels like talking about, but he tests it with tens of thousands of people, every single idea. And he realized the reason we don't do things is not because we are lazy. We all blame motivation. Oh, I'm not motivated. I'm lazy. This is why I'm not following through. It's because motivation is the weakest of the link. So he has this formula. He calls it MAP. M stands for motivation. A for, I think it's action, I believe. And then P for prompt. And he says, the mistake we all make is we are so caught up on motivation that we try to fix motivation, and it never works. Like, I mean, we all have motivation to exercise right at the beginning of the year, but 4 days later, okay, whatever, right? Go back to same old. Nothing changes.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, that was me last week. Going to the gym, pumping iron. This week, I'm like, whatever. So I'm reading this book.
Yeah, you're definitely reading this. It's unbelievable, and it's based on psychology and how to hack your own behavior. So, anyways,
sure.
So I think the reason I think PPO plans are successful, looking at that context, is you don't need any motivation to sign up. You just sign up and they send you patients, right? It's easy. So they really tapped into this human weakness where we are not very disciplined. We want the easy way out.
Sure,
You get free patients for doing nothing. But the fine print is you only get paid half. But who cares about the fine print? Because it's so easy, right? The easy button. So anyway, so
gosh, this is a cool book. I'm already reading the summary as you're talking.
Yeah. And so he starts by, talking about this woman who wanted to start a business, and she has been talking about it. Nothing ever happens because it's too much. It's too overwhelming. So he said, okay, start with tiny habits. And I'm going to use this prompt analogy. And so he said, okay, every time you wake up in the morning, as soon as your feet touches the ground, that could be the prompt. Or the minute the alarm goes off, just say to yourself, I'm going to have a wonderful day. I'm going to have a great day. He said, just try it, right? Prompt is you waking up, and the action is super easy, 10 seconds. Just try it, see what happens. And then he said, okay, now what's the second habit I can create as I want to build this business? And she said, okay, every morning I get up, get my kids ready, go drop them off. When I'm coming back, I said, on my drive back, I'm going to pull my car over and I'm going to take sticky notes and write one to do for the day. That's it. One to do. Right. Okay. So before every day, it's a ritual. Like I drop my kid off, I take my sticky notes, write one to do. And then when I'm driving, my mind is racing on how to get it done. And then I'm getting it done. And then the next to do, the next to do. And before you know it, 3 months later, she had built this great business. So he's like, don't blame motivation. Try to hack your own behavior using this map.
By taking action.
Yeah, especially prompt action. And then motivation is the last one. Don't depend on motivation because that's really hard and temporary.
I love this topic. Sorry to interrupt. Yesterday we had our company meeting and we listened to a snippet of Tony Robbins where he talks just exactly what we're talking about here, where he's like, he basically said massive action is a cure-all, right? Which will bring momentum, which will then bring motivation and all that fun stuff. So it all starts with action, even if it's, in this book, it sounds like it's starting with tiny action to get that momentum going that then brings the motivation to yourself and to those around you, right? So taking action is key with anything, whether you're starting a business, whether you're doing marketing campaigns or looking for somebody to help you with marketing campaigns. So action is going to be the key based off of the summary I read of the book and the Tony Robbins clip yesterday.
Absolutely.
You're a speed reader, Jordan.
You finished it like the 12-hour book. It's done in 10 minutes.
I just read this summary. I love this stuff. So I just read the summary.
I think I thought I wanted to just tell it to you, but hey, let's do it. Now that I'm doing it through the podcast, so hopefully the others also benefit from it because. Yeah, it's a great book, and it's a wonderful way to hack yourself because I always blame myself, like most of us.
And your team members, you probably can utilize this as a leader.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Anyways, I guess the takeaway then is maybe I'm going to turn it around on you guys. So if the mistake is signing up on too many PPO plans, what is the action, guys? What do you think they can do today to stop or reverse this mistake?
You want my perspective and Ben's perspective?
Yes.
I mean, I would say the immediate action that I would take if I realized that I woke up one day and I'm like, well, crud, I signed up too many PPOs. I would, number one, get a marketing strategy put into place because that's what's going to feed the machine, right? Being the business. And then I would look at optimizing those PPO contracts, like what Ben does, and say, okay, how can I get the more bang for the flow of patients that are coming in now, and then I would add a membership plan and use marketing as well to scale that, so that I'm not having to be so reliant on the PPOs. And this is the problem that I see for so many years working on the clinical side of dentistry is too many dentists will vent about their problem, but won't do anything to solve it. Right. They just kind of sit and take it. And I'm not trying to diss anybody. This is just the pattern that I've seen. We all complain about what we don't like. And then we complain, month over month, day over day. But a lot of the times, and this goes to everything outside of dentistry. This goes to maybe we complain about, man, I wish I lost some weight, whatever it may be, personally or business. It seems like most of the time we just vent about it and then don't do anything to fix the problem. And that's what I've seen over the years with at least the PPO environment is, PPOs suck. Well, we'll just keep taking it this way, right? So massive action is the cure-all. Get a marketing plan in place, get a membership plan in place, and get a optimization plan in place with those three components, right? Of that's what I would do. I would immediately start there. I spoke to a dentist the other day who called me in to get advice on just business in general, and we had an awesome conversation. And a lot of the things that he was talking about, he's just has never really taken action on. And I said, dude, the only way you're going to solve this is if you just do something today. Like, do something.
Right.
Like, call a marketing agency and maybe it may not be the right agency that you work with, but get something moving and start learning if it's going to work for you or not. Right. Get something going today. And then I look back of just my situation of when I was at the dental lab, and I just hated the I hated the PPOs just as much as my clients, the dentists, right? Because it was affecting our business at the dental lab. They were the contracts that our practice signed would trickle down to us, and we would have to reduce our margins. And it was frustrating because I'm like, man, I never signed a PPO contract. But what did I do? I took action and just figured out a better way, to help, our clients. So it's all about taking action. Back to your that cool book that you just shared with us. So that's what I would do.
Awesome. Anything you want to add, Ben?
Just real quick, Jordan mentioned something that's pretty amazing. My angle of it too, or at least something unique and different than what Jordan mentioned, which I agree with, is like what Stephen Covey says, 7 habits, you think with the end in mind, and then you plan, you reverse engineer. So to me, the end in mind, when it comes to this whole idea of potentially, eliminating the hundreds and thousands of dollars that we give to PPO plans every year, is I think about, how do I get patients to value quality, how to value relationships with me and my team members more than insurance or the money, the payment component, right? And that requires tiny habits along the way, right? When you think about it and you reverse engineer that, how do I get to that goal to get patients to flip their focus and value me, value the clinical quality that I give more so than insurance? Well, it all starts with tiny habits, right? Getting patients, having conversations with patients and understanding their perception, shifting your conversations and, using insurance just as a support to pay, but not necessarily leading it out in the conversations, eliminating that whole insurance-driven mentality. And I imagine that whole push and emphasis on relationships, which is what Gary's really big on, is really helpful, so that if you're marketing as an out-of-network provider, right, you have that tool, that people tool, to be able to capture new patients and then retain them long-term,
Sure.
So thinking about those tiny habits, how do we get people to value the relationship, value the quality, instead of valuing insurance first and coming to you because you're in network, right?
Yeah.
So those are my 2 cents there.
Love it. No, I love it. Sweet. Let's move to the next.
Can we?
Go ahead.
Let's talk about the next one, right? So the next one is wasting tons of money on Google ads, right? I've seen this happen like literally with many practices.
I would imagine most practices, just if they do it themselves, they turn it on. They don't know the mechanics of Google search ads, because there's a learning curve, right? This.
Yes.
And it's a different learning curve than SEO. There's some similarities, but there's a learning curve. I would imagine that most practices, if they're doing it themselves, they just turn it on and then cross their fingers and hope it works.
That's what I usually see.
That's what you see too. Yeah.
All the time.
I would imagine that's kind of going on out there, because I look at Google search ads all the time in our industry, and I often see, like, I'll type in something about dental, for example. Well, let's just say I'm Googling my own business, dental membership plans. Maybe I'm Googling that, and I see, or dental membership plan software, right? For example,
right.
I'll see ads pop up that say that you're searching for a software solution, but it's a dentist ad saying new patient special. I see that all the time when I search for some of the keywords that, that people may be trying to find my company with. And then I'm like, why is there a dentist ad saying new patient special over this keyword? I would imagine that they just kind of turn it on and just hope it works, and without knowing the mechanics.
Exactly. I think that's a huge reason. The other 2 things I can think of is you're starting with a disadvantage. Typically, Google ads are going to be 5 to 7 times more expensive than SEO, because the average person, when they come through an ad, will only spend 15 seconds versus through SEO, they'll spend 90 seconds. So you have to, literally get so much more people to get the same result. So you're starting with like a 1 to 6, 1 to 7 disadvantage right off the bat. And the other piece, like you said, like you mentioned, Jordan, is they don't do a good job in optimizing it. They don't know negative keywords, all the technical stuff. And Google is a money-making machine. So they love the fact that you don't know all these nuances and you
Sure.
waste a lot of money. But also, like, if you only have 15 seconds, is your web page so compelling that the person is going to pick up the phone and call you?
Yep. You got to tailor it.
And they don't do that. Like, I see that time and again. Like, the landing
Sure.
page is like any other page, nothing impressive, nothing compelling. Like, wow,
not focused on what they're targeting, or
exactly.
or
No
not
before
making
and
them stand
afters,
out. Yeah.
no
There's
reviews, no testimonials, not amazing. It's like blah, blah, blah. So imagine spending thousands of dollars to drive people to a blah, blah, blah page that is not compelling enough. You can easily lose your shirt doing that. So I think, yes, marketing is important, but if you don't pay attention, if you're not on top of it, you can waste money too. So you have to kind of really, especially with Google Ads, be on top of it.
So I guess
Yeah,
the follow-up
fine.
question to that, Naren, is, so I, as a dentist, and I'm looking at Google Ads, is that something that I should try or not?
Yeah, I think Google Ads is something, the way I think about it is you always should focus on SEO, because 95% of websites get no traffic from SEO. So if you are in that 5%, you're going to get an unfair advantage and you're going to get the lowest cost, highest quality patients. Once you are dominating SEO and you're in that 5% that's getting 95% of the free traffic, then use Google Ads to top up. So for example, you want to grow a certain part of your business, or you want to attract people from towns far away, and you're not really doing well on SEO for those towns yet. So in those strategic situations, use ads. The other exception might be a startup, right? Because you might be thinking, hey, I could have bought a new practice for $1 million, so I saved $500,000, so I could use 100,000, 200,000, even though it's a lot more expensive, still to attract patients quickly through ads. So very, very special cases, I would use it, but don't use it if your pages are not compelling. In other words, if you can't convince somebody in 15 seconds, like, you're wasting money, right? And like what Jordan said, don't do it if you are not really on top of it. Like, you could, like, if you're showing the ads against the wrong keywords, you're going to waste so much money too. The example he shared.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Totally.
I never thought of it that way. It's like the Google Ads is like the cherry on top, right?
Yeah.
You have to do all these other things before you get there. And that makes perfect sense, because I'm thinking of clients that you have one that spends $3,000 a month on Google Ads,
Sure,
and they get no patients, and they don't really have a great website, right? And they're not even, they don't have reviews.
They're probably not targeting the right landing page, like Naren said.
Well,
and if their site is kind of crappy, that the trust level goes down quite a bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's one I can think of in California, just on the way to San Diego. One practice, they spend $1,000 on Google Ads a month, but they have like 300 reviews on their website. Their website looks amazing. They rank, on the first page, and they get 40 new patients a month, 40 to 60 new patients a month, and the one next door is not. So I never really made that correlation that Google Ads, you got to lay the foundation before you do that, right? So thanks for clearing that up.
I also think with Google Ads, because we experiment it with all the time with our company, on and off, and with other projects we're doing here. To your point, Naren, of making sure that the ad is optimized, the landing page is specific. There's another thing that I think a lot of people forget is, okay, when you get somebody to your landing page, how are you going to get their information so you can remarket to them? Because remarketing is extremely valuable. Even if you pay for Google Ads, you can, acquire that lead. Let's say they come to a website. I'll talk about my funnel. We send people to a landing page for a free ebook. Okay, whether we're paying Google Ads or whatever. People go through that, they download the free ebook, they get into our system where we're constantly, sending them educational content, because not everyone's ready to use our software. For example, not everyone's ready, to change it to a new dentist. Same thing, right? There's different buying personas, I would imagine, and stages of the buying, so we will run Google Ads, we'll acquire new leads, and then we'll remarket to them if they're not ready. And I think there's something to be said there that a lot of people don't talk about, is that remarketing factor of it. Hey, how do we acquire these leads And the ones that aren't ready, how do we warm them up and get them ready and trusting our dental office? I think there's a component of that would be an interesting episode on its own. Just talk about how do we remarket to the people that we've acquired lead wise. So that's my thought there.
Oh, that's a great point. Because a client is worth a lot. A prospective client is worth a lot. So anything you can do to maximize them, A, becoming a client, and then B, staying for a long time is money well spent. It's time well spent.
That's awesome.
Cool. All right. So let's say I'm a dentist. I'm interested in kicking PPO plans to the curb, stomping them on the curb. And you want to master SEO. How can a practice start reducing marketing spend and getting really clear on the next stage and taking action on this concept of a better marketing plan?
Absolutely. So the third mistake is exactly that, right? If you learn how to get into the top 5% and master SEO, and you start attracting 95% of the free traffic from Google, you are now starting to make it. But 95% of the practices don't know how to do it. They fail at it. And the reason they fail is they don't understand two things. One, how Google's business works, and also what Google cares about with regards to SEO. Google makes a killing, like $224 billion a year from Google Ads.
Nice.
So of course, if I were Google and the CEO of Google, I want that number to keep growing because my bonus
absolutely
is growing, right?
Yeah.
I make more bonuses every time my ad business produces more revenue.
Yeah.
So what that means is they make SEO tough, right? So they make sure that only 5% of the websites get all the free traffic. So the other 95% have to give them billions of dollars. So that's the game they play. So you need to understand that game. And now within that game, how do you get into the top 5%? Google cares about 6 things. So the way we do this for our clients, both of you have recommended quite a few clients who we work with. We make sure those 6 things our clients are acing. And those are NAP, that's name, address, phone number, consistency. So you have to make sure on hundreds of directories where your name, address, and phone number are listed, it's exactly the same. It has to be consistent. And then it's a long game, long process, finding them, cleaning them up, contacting people. You can use a little bit of tech, but it's really like human to human fixing these issues. Second one is Google Lighthouse score. Every single page gets a score. Google will tell you what your score is, and it'll tell you what you need to do to improve your score. They are very helpful. They have tools for that. You just run the Google Lighthouse tool and it'll tell you what you need to do page by page. But somebody has to go in and fix those things. It just takes time, effort. That's it. Now, what makes it tricky is Google changes its algorithms, for Lighthouse every week and latest once a month. So somebody has to be on top of it, not just one time, but ongoing. Same thing with NAP. The third one Google cares about is original content. They're very picky on this. 95% of dental practices mess this up. So you need to make sure you have writers who know how to write the way Google wants. And less than 5% of the words are duplicate, meaning the word should have a minimum 400 words and 380 words have to be original. There's Google EAT, which is expertise, authority, trust. I'm not going to get into that again. You want to leverage that. Quality backlinks. Again, it's who's linking to you. Is it good, bad? Again, it's an ongoing journey. You have to keep getting good links, get rid of bad links, not just for your homepage, but for all your pages you care about. Last but not least, I strongly recommend every single person listening to this, try to get at least 10 5-star Google reviews every month. 10 5-star love letter Google reviews, meaning paragraph reviews. And there are methodologies. You can use Cialdini's influence principles and so forth to kind of get those love letter reviews. That's it. So if you master these 6 things, and with our, we work with 400 doctors, that's what we do for them. The first 5, we take care of it. The last one, we give them a tool, the reviews, and they have to help us with this. As long as you focus on it, you are going to have an unfair advantage. You are going to get so many new patients because you dominate Google. Of course, it's not enough if you still don't focus on conversions, right? You still have to make sure your pages, landing pages are compelling. You still have to get Google reviews. So you still have to do those things. As long as you do the things we talked about today, you're going to have an unfair advantage with marketing, and you can definitely no longer be PPO dependent at all. So you can be like free of that menace.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So I guess to take advantage of that, Naren, we can send people to the well, at least the strategy meeting that you offer through your company. What is it called? The MSM, right? The marketing strategy
meeting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
So if you're interested in that as a guest, which we highly recommend, because that is a very thorough assessment on marketing opportunities that are available to you. And you can book that meeting by going to insuranceuntangled.com/MSM, which stands for Marketing Strategy Meeting. So check that out.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Naren. For those of you listening, thanks for joining us today. And if you liked this episode, share it with your buddies on social media. Write us a love letter review. That would be fantastic if you're enjoying this content. But we really appreciate our listeners. Also, go visit our website, the ensnares.com, and check out our new website. So with that said, thanks for hanging out with us today, and we hope you have a rocking day.